Hi, everybody. I'm Darren Class.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I think you all know what we're doing today, but just to run through, thank you for joining a post-show discussion with Prada co-creative directors Mutual Prada and Raf Simmons, filmmaker Lee Daniels, architect Rem Koolhaus, fashion designer Marc Jacobs, actress Hunter Schaffer, and electronic musician Rishi Houghton. Many of you guys know each other. I'm excited and maybe a little bit nervous to chat with everyone today. Well, let's start with the show. So I guess everyone had a chance to see the show. We sent videos last night. Some responses. Anything stand out?
Those sequin coats, the sleeve on a coat. I mean, there was just so much. The pattern knits, like everything was just heaven.
I like the way it's dark.
It felt insulated and personal. It felt very like it was, what we've been missing from the fashion shows are like people and everything, the exchange and looking at people and everything. This was really a personal experience, and I felt like I was on my own personal journey. It was beautiful.
What I think is so incredible about the way Prada has approached this digital fashion week is that it feels like one of the brands that have made this for digital audience. That's a question for Mrs. Prada and you, Raf. Was that a conscious choice to make something that felt virtual?
Well, I think that for everybody in fashion, not only for us, of course, we're so used to have a live show and to have the interaction with the audience. And as soon as COVID started, we all had sorted out right away, which was not so easy. And I think coming to previous First Man show and this show, we talked a lot, Muj and I talked a lot with Rem and the team about how can you still transport that kind of feeling that it looks like a show, but it's also not just filming a show. Besides that, I think we wanted this space to physically almost relate very much to the clothes and to the intentions we had with the collection. That's why there was a very strong relation between the actual space, psychologically and physically, and the collection.
Every show has a degree of premeditation, but also a strong degree of improvisation. So therefore, I would not say it's so much so serious, and we really played with the idea of virtuality more than earnestly approaching it. And that is the beautiful thing about fashion, that you can always play.
But for sure, the fact that there is no public, you can concentrate more about what you want to say and so recreate an atmosphere. I think it's more difficult to do it without people, actually, compared to before. Before it was a promenade. Like this is very much more difficult because you have to do the show and after edit and try to find out something that makes sense as a piece of work, not just as clothes passing by. Of course, we will go back to reality, but I'm sure we will find a way that this shouldn't be lost because, okay, it was much more effort, but much more interesting, and probably at the end we will have to do both.
And though not as they both are exciting in their own way, but this is, I could understand, Miss Prada, how difficult this was for you because the detail, you're never taking your eyes off the clothing. You are focused, laser focused on not the celebrities and not the beautiful people and not all of that, but you're focused on the work.
Has it gotten easier working together in this process, or?
Yes, it got easier. And I think it was very difficult in the beginning as well because it's so different when you do something like this or when you film the show, the actual live show.
There were some very beautiful shots that started as close-up from the back. And I think that was kind of really radical to not see fashion from the front coming at you, but disappearing in the distance. And that was a kind of very filmic and very effective move.
Richie, have you changed the way that you created music for the show while working remotely? Or how have you approached this show that we just saw?
Well, just watching the show, what I really notice is that you feel very, very close to the fashion, to the clothes, to the details, and it feels for me much more intimate and sensual than being in a place where it's actually happening live. So that there is nobody there just gives you this way to get really close. And that's something I have to think about when I'm making the music because, I'm there to support what you're seeing. And when you have those very intimate, close-ups, I have to kind of just sit in the background and support that and just give a kind of touch of the feeling that Raph and this Prada are trying to project with their collection.
It's also in terms of music, I think it's an important thing to say because it's also a different experience because you have to watch out in a video cut from, let's say, something between 10-15 minutes to not lose the energy. I also have to say that's not something we really talk so much about. We talk more about what the feeling should be of the music. But the fact that you succeed so well with building up the energy, like there was the energy never got lost, and I think that's such a huge help for the movie, for the video cut also.
Yeah, well, all these things are so symbiotic, and as you know, like I'm working on the music as you're filming and as you're editing, so there's a certain amount we can kind of play with as things are developing. But again, I'm kind of giving a framework, like Rem's architecture, that we're there to support everything that is being filmed and all the beauty that is the show and the collection.
We'll get back to the conversation around collaboration. The easiest question to kick off with is one we talked about a minute ago with Lee, who collaborated with Prada on the costumes for his recent film, The United States versus Billie Holiday. Lee, why did you think that Prada would be such a great partner for that?
I just, outside of the work, this is spectacular. And I think that she's a strong woman. So just Billie was a strong woman. And just that in itself is just the fact that they're two strong women, and I was a little nervous about asking her about it because I knew that she's an artist and she takes it shit very, very seriously, as I do. And I knew that that would be commitment. But I didn't think of anybody else that'd be able to sort of bring Billie's style to life the way Miss Prada could.
Well, Hunter, this is probably a great segue to you. We're so thrilled that you're here today, too, partly because fashion and makeup were such a big part of Euphoria. Did that show make you rethink the impact that style has in creating characters and also in real life?
I'm not sure if it was rethinking as much as it was like a realization, because Euphoria was my first time acting or being involved with as much input as I had as far as like costumes and makeup goes. So I think it was more just like a big realization of like how much your decisions with clothing and makeup can accentuate elements of a scene or bring something out or contrast in like a cool way. So it was a massive learning experience more than anything else.
I wanted to ask you something, because it's clear that for fashion, all the other fields are important for your own job and also for the movies, because in the movies you have architecture, you have music, you have ideas. But which are the disciplines that are more relevant for you doing music? I don't know, sociology, I don't know.
For music, I would say sculpture. For me, going to see an installation, an art gallery, and actually, especially walking around some type of three-dimensional sculpture or object is a way to kind of think about the space and the architecture I'm trying to develop in the music I make. So it's very often about space and architecture. It's where are my sounds fitting in this spectrum, in this landscape that I'm trying to produce.
I wanted to pose the same question to Rem. Which are the disciplines that are more relevant for you in your job?
Well, I think that there are two disciplines. Since we work since maybe 30 years, all architects all over the world, the most important thing for us is to understand the people we work for, that we understand their aspirations, their habits, their tics, their cultures, their aesthetics. And so there's only one profession that systematically was looking into that, and that is anthropologist. It's as if you come from a different planet and you look and you then try to define and can really interpret very, very carefully what you see and what it means what you see. So that's crucial. The other thing where I've so deeply enjoyed collaboration with fashion is the incredible speed of fashion and the way in which fashion can assemble something sublime almost in 15 seconds sometimes. And in fashion, how the kind of flash of inspiration is very close to the kind of realized object in the best cases. And so the meticulous part of anthropology and the kind of intuitive flashes of fashion have been kind of very, very crucial.
Which is the field that are influencing you more? I know for me are movies and literature. For you?
For me, it's the art of living. So, of course, there's movies, there's art, there's music, there's everything. But I find that in order to do this, we need to really be present and experience life on all levels, because what we do is just one more aesthetic component of a beautiful life, like beautiful interiors and all of this.
In the first, as many of you guys know, this is the third Q&A that Raf and Mrs. Prada have done together. And in the first Q&A, there was this great question, what is the Prada-ness? And I thought it would be a good question to ask our guest panelists today, because these guys have already answered it. So Mark, maybe we'll start with you. To you, what is the Prada-ness?
The Prada-ness is Mrs. Prada. I mean, you can feel it. No, don't laugh, Mrs. Prada. You see, I understand that there is something intrinsic, I mean, in this collaboration with Raf, but also what we know as Prada is this incredible taste and eye for so many different things. It's culture, it's intelligence, and it's a sense of style, and it's a love of fashion, I think. And I see the Prada-ness as a film of Antonioni or Fellini or Visconti. It's like this is a mind that takes in everything and that you cannot put your finger on, but the Prada-ness is Mrs. Prada. It's every gesture, it's everything, and that's what the Prada-ness is for me.
When we started work with Prada and Bertelli, there was one very interesting phenomenon, which is that they didn't hesitate to go this way or that way. And they were very practical and very immediate about it. And ever since, I've been fascinated by the way Prada dislikes something. There is a kind of very deep form of disliking, which is different from simply rejecting. But it means that you don't simply dislike, but you explore every aspect of what you dislike and then kind of do something with that energy. And I think that is a kind of very special gift that
That's so true.
Prada has.
Hunter, for you, what is the Prada-ness?
The Prada-ness is, I see Prada as sort of like an armor, but like in most, like if I think of like a night suit, like you can, it's divided up and you can see what's underneath, and that there's like always something kind of like stormy or like brewing underneath the like elegant poisedness that's on top of it, which I think also speaks to what Lee was saying about like how it like protects the woman who's wearing it, like no matter what she's dealing with, woman or person or whatever.
Mrs. Prada, you probably aren't going to like this next question, but it's here, so I have to ask it. So we asked all of these guys what they find inspiring about the Prada aesthetic, but a question for you and Raf is, what have you been inspired about by our panelists? Is it their filmmaking or their storytelling or their music or their acting or their designs or their architecture? How are you inspired by your collaborators?
I think that fashion is a field that requires inspiration besides life, as Mark said very well. Of course, we have to deal with architecture because it's the space we are in. We have to deal with music. We have to deal with people playing and performing. And basically, we have to somehow tell a story that was movie director does. Ultimately, it's about life, but we need, let's say so, that we need all these other people intervention.
For me, I think every creative field and every creator, or from every creator, I could for sure find something that I might like. We sometimes talk about it. Like, I think many designers I might like a piece, a pen, a shoe, whatever, or from a director, maybe one movie, or from an architect, maybe one house. It becomes more complicated when it's a total body of work. We admire your work very much over time. So I think sometimes somebody does something and it's so good that it makes you curious. Mark also mentioned it. Like you always want to see more of what this person does. And I think all of you have done that to me personally very much with the body of work that you've been doing. Even if it was just one thing, like from Hunter, I've seen one episode and I was on it. I was like, I need to see more. I see a second one, I need to see more. And I will always be now very fascinated what you do. And it counts for all of you. And that makes for me this kind of very strong connection more to the mindsets.
It's very powerful. And it's true. You know, with Mark, I look at his work and it's just, you know, you are attracted to the spirit and the spirit lives in the work. And I think that that's the same for Mrs. Prada and Raf. I mean, it's there for sure. It's about the spirit ultimately that we were attracted to. And I think it lives in all of your work.
Mark, you haven't shown in here in New York during the pandemic. How are you being creative? What is your creative outlet in the absence of a fashion show?
So far, this has been my creative outlet. This has been very interesting and educational. I haven't shown, but we're preparing to show. It's been really difficult to take time off. I mean, it's so weird thinking about fashion and the kind of hamster wheel of fashion and how we never had a break and always complained about it. And then you get a break and you complain about it, you know? So you know, I miss it. I miss the hamster wheel in the calendar. And what I've been doing is paying attention, very close attention to what the people I admire, what they've been making. So, I mean, that's why I say this is a very interesting and engaging conversation. I pay close attention to what's going on around me, and hopefully that will inform a lot of what I do when I get to finally do it, you know?
One last question, and I'm sure you will all hate it, but when Raf and Mrs. Prada announced their collaboration, people called it, quote, hard to believe that these two incredible designers would work together. So the question we thought about posing to you all, in the art of collaboration, who is your dream collaborator?
There's a kind of very interesting thing that, of course, architecture seems kind of really moving slowly and taking a lot of time and change over, not radically within a space of, let's say, 20 years. But in kind of recent times, of course, global warming is imposing kind of rather suddenly, on architecture a kind of really, really drastic necessity to change, where we have to throw literally all our priorities overboard because there is a certain urgency. And we've been waiting for urgency for a long time, but now we have it. For me, that has been a very exciting experience kind of recently, because suddenly I was working with scientists, and suddenly I was working with kind of people who had very little sense of aesthetics, very little kind of patience for formality, and who were in a way in a position of authority because they could say what needed to happen. But basically in that pressure, I was also able to kind of really refresh parts of me that needed genuine refreshment because it was a totally new territory. And so I think we all need collaboration all the time, but it's particularly exciting if it's about a collaboration that lets you enter a site of a place where you've never been before.
I totally agree, and I think that it was this meeting we spoke about kind of light matters, but in this moment, the questions that really are moving are so many, so relevant political points that those are the ones that actually are the most challenging. For me, for instance, the idea that the responsibility of an industry to behave well, to contribute to change, and really being involved on all the matters from diversity, gender, the ecosystem, and so on. you really have to be involved and really have to be active. And I say, of course, we will not able to solve the problem, but I really believe that it's so important in this moment to really push on those subjects, because if those subjects does a step, we are safe. We have all really to be proactive, responsible, and in that sense, that is the most new thing.
You know, when I collaborated with Billie Holiday, it was connecting to her and listening to her voice and really doing her justice, because I don't think that people understood. So it's important that you shed light. We're all gray. The world is gray. What you see is not necessarily what you see. And so collaborating with old spirits, I think, is and giving shine to my ancestors is an honor for me.
Okay, great. I think we've done it, and I think we did a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everybody.
Right.
Joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.